As my friends know, I'm a graduate of Purdue University. In fact, that my roots go further back than that. I went to high school in West Lafayette, Indiana, so I'm twice removed, or doubled down on West Lafayette, so to speak. Um, Purdue, as most of you know, is a really big ag school. It's a lot of other things too. Neil Armstrong came from Purdue, so I'm a big booster of Purdue. And I've had quite a few Purdue startups come through Bonnie Doon through our programs. Insignium is following a tradition. I will let Dan Dawes of Purdue introduce Insignium. So I have a little less work to do on this one. Dan?
Howard, thank you so much. I'm sitting in Discovery Park at Purdue at this very moment. And I just want to talk for a moment about the fact that we know farmers face numerous challenges and risks each season. In certain crops, disease protection is a routine practice and a risk they try to mitigate. In other crops, like grains, using crop protection to control disease is considered a dreaded and added cost. The decision to spray or not to spray the crop can cause a loss of sleep for the grower, but they may be missing out on significant yield boosting potential. As Howard introduced me, my name is Dan Dawes. I'm Senior Director of Growth at Agronovus, Indiana, which is an initiative focused on advancing innovation in the food and agriculture industry. I also serve as an advisor to ag bioscience startups at the Purdue Foundry. In my 30-year career at DuPont Crop Protection, I spent huge amounts of time marketing our crop protection fungicides. So I know the challenges facing growers and crop advisors in managing plant health. This is why I'm proud to introduce Kyle Mohler, who is founder of Insignum AgTech, who will share his unique approach to helping plants talk to growers about their health. Kyle?
Well, thank you very much, Dan. That's a very nice introduction. And thank you to Howard and Nick for inviting me to come and be with you today. So we are Insignum AgTech. Worldwide crop production is valued at about $3.6 trillion worth, and an awful lot of that is lost to pests through the growing season. The biggest chunk of that loss, maybe 2/3 of the pest damage, is just done by the fungal diseases. And so it's not too much of a stretch to say that we lose about $1 trillion worth of our output just to the fungal diseases every year. And I'm not talking about food wastage or food spoilage. This is just production value loss at the farm gate. So it's a really hard problem to solve, particularly for the row crop farmers, like Dan was saying. So diseases are a sometimes problem, and not every single year. A lot of the row crops have been bred to have some level of disease resistance. And so only when the environmental conditions are right are you going to get an active infection. And but you're not going to see the symptoms of that infection for a week or a month or sometimes even longer. If a farmer were to spray at that point or use some kind of a treatment, whether that's chemical or biological, they're not very effective. You can't heal a plant in the same way that you can heal an animal. And so, a farmer may not get his money back on those treatments. In order to be most effective, you have to apply before the disease sets in or before you know that the disease is there. The entire category is called crop protection for that reason. And so it's maybe not a surprise that a farmer doesn't want to spend 1/3 of his profit margins on a product that he doesn't know if he actually needs or not. So our solution is a genetic one. So we're using gene editing to create a new gene combination, but we're just copying a gene that already exists in the plant, and we're precisely inserting it somewhere else in the genome. And that's going to be bred into the seed, so it's there from beginning to end of the plant's life cycle. But it just sits there silent until a disease starts to crop up. And then as the plant is activating its defense response, it also activates this other gene that we put in. And what that does is stimulate the pigment production pathway, anthocyanins. This is a natural pigment. We eat it every day, and all plants have the ability to make it. So then what happens then is plant starts to turn color in those early stages of the disease. So a farmer and agronomist can get in and treat when and where and if he actually needs to. so that yeah, he can save his crop and improve his outcome. So what we're essentially creating is an early disease detection system, but really what we're selling is confidence, right? That he's making the right crop protection decisions, right? Because there's a lot of anxiety actually in making that decision, because there's a risk if you do spray, because you could be wasting your money and losing out on those profits. But at the same time, if you do nothing, you risk losing a lot of your crop to disease. So there's a lot of anxiety around that risky decision. So we make the decision really simple. Do your plants have disease or not? And so agronomists love this solution because it works really well into a sustainable integrated pest management plan for growers. And so this is really a great sustainable tool. If you're skeptical that here I'm talking about spraying and being sustainable, well, let me spend a little bit of time about why that is. So yeah, as NIO is also trying to do, yeah, we're focused on this sustainable development goal number 2, where we're trying to increase productivity, but at the same time being less wasteful, right? So we're saying, yeah, where you do have a disease problem, then you should treat and increase your production. But where you don't have disease, then don't waste, don't overspray where you don't need to. But climate change has a big impact on this as well, because as a particular territory's climate is changing, then you're going to have new pests come in really quickly, and it's not something that a farmer can look to the historical data in order to try to figure out how to manage. You have to be reactive in real time in that year in order to address what situations arise. And so we're fitting exactly into that, what the best management practices are, good warning systems, diagnostic tools, and effective treatments. So we created these prototype plants and put them out in the field and observed what happened. And this plant here in particular, on the 30th of July, started to make these purple spots. Not the whole leaf turning purple, but we saw these spots there. They're clearly easy to see. This is just a cell phone picture, so this is nothing fancy. But 10 days later, we started to see disease lesions show up in some of those exact same spots. Now, this is a gray leaf spot. It's the most economically damaging pathogen to U.S. corn, and it's a worldwide problem too. And we saw good results to 2 other fungal pathogens as well. So essentially, this is doing exactly what we want it to. It's giving an early warning sign before disease sets in. So if a farmer were to see this, he can say, gosh, disease must be there, I just can't see it yet. So if I treat now, I can prevent the damage that I know is coming and improve my yields. Now, if you say that these spots are small, I might agree with you. And that's what we're trying to improve upon. We saw some other lines in our plot that had some bigger disease responses, bigger spots, but they showed up later. And so that's where we're trying to make improvements, so that you can see it not only by eye, but also by a drone, or maybe one day even a satellite. So you can scout your whole farm really quickly and easily. You can pick up on disease where it first starts in the field, not just in the end rows where you happen to be walking through. And so you could even use precision agriculture for disease management using this tool. So like I said, we're creating a new gene that's going to be bred into the seeds. And so we're not selling directly to farmers, we're going to sell to the seed companies. And it makes a lot of sense to license or sell this to these guys, because they sell not only seeds, but the crop protection as well. And so there's some excellent co-sale opportunities, like Dan said, is such a hard thing to do. So they've got a lot of opportunities there to work those things in together. So we've been talking to these companies, and they're very interested. But the people that are most excited are the ones at those companies who are farmer facing or customer facing. Because they're the ones that are trying to provide that advice to farmers about whether they should use crop protection or not. And they know that they're providing advice, well, as good as they can, but it's on some pretty shaky data, right? It's like, well, the price of corn is good this year, so maybe you're going to make your money back, right? So nothing to do with whether disease is actually there. And so they think that this is really awesome, right? This is transformational, because you can shift your thinking and from this spray and pray, gosh, I hope this actually works, to being reactive in real time to an outbreak that is ongoing, but before the damage is done. And so they think that this is really great. So we'll earn revenues by licensing the trait and earn royalties per unit of seed sold. I've been talking about the row crops, and we see that the biggest opportunity is there where we can increase the production. And so we've got a really strong value prop. But we could apply the same technology to the food crops as well, where they get sprayed with pesticides all the time. Now, the value for them would be grow the same healthy crop using fewer pesticides, which everybody likes, but it's a cost savings value prop to them. And so the value is a bit stronger to the row crop. So that's why we're going there first. And we could do more than just diseases, right? We could use a lot of different colors, right? Nature gives us this palette of all different kinds of colors to indicate different things, right? So we could make one color be diseases, another one be insects, and then yet another one be nutrient deficiency, right? So you could be reactive in real time to any kind of stress that a plant's facing using precision agriculture techniques. So a little bit about how other people are trying to solve this problem right now. There are different kinds of categories. So there are some ground-based systems like hyperlocal weather monitors or spore traps. Those are one corner of the disease triangle. And so a lot of farmers don't want to trust just one component of the system about whether or not their plants actually have disease. And so that's not a very trustworthy method for them. Another way is some kind of aerial application or aerial imagery, whether it be drone or satellite or whatever. Those are two things. Either you can give a particular disease probability score, or you're going to report after the fact, after damage has been done. And again, farmers don't trust that level of information in order to actually make good management practices, right? They don't use that to, or not very many of them anyway, are using those systems currently to try to make these disease management decisions. And so our technology is fundamentally different, right? Not only, I mean, I think it's better technology, but I don't think that that's why it's going to be effective with growers, right? This is his own plants that are scattered throughout the field that are now communicating to him through color, right? So there's a trust difference, right? It's not a data point that he's got to digest to try to figure out, okay, does this heat map mean that I'm going to be making money or losing money? These are his plants that are talking to him, and so seeing is believing with a lot of these guys. They're not analysts, they're not biz dev people. So yeah, this is going to connect in a fundamental different way, and so it's this psychological factor that's going to make our technology a real success, and that's what we're hearing from farmers. So I grew up in agriculture. I'm in Indiana right now, and yeah, this is where I grew up on a farm here. And so I know that this is going to be a really good solution for a lot of people in agriculture and farmers. Our chief scientific officer, Marcelo German, he was at a startup that got bought by Diagra Sciences and became Corteva. And so he spent 10 years doing ag trait development, building technologies just like this. And so he's a great guy to have lead our scientific team. We're currently raising our seed round. Oh yeah, by the way, we've been accomplishing all of this just in a pre-seed money. And so we've come a long way in a short amount of time. So with this seed round that we're raising, we'll have our final product in our customers' hands ready for testing. So earlier I mentioned that our technology uses gene editing using a gene that's already present in corn, just moving it somewhere else. And so we're going to fall under exemptions from any kind of regulation from the USDA and a number of other countries as well. And so because we're not playing by the same rules as typical GMOs or genetic technologies, yeah, that we're gonna move through the regulatory process in a fraction of the time and pennies on the dollar. So that's not going to be like a hurdle or anything that's going to prevent us from going to market. It's just another step that we need to go through. But we're going to get that here in short order, that non-regulated status. And we've got a number of other milestones as well that we're thinking about that we have lined up to do for this next round. But I'll stop there, and I'll be happy to take any questions. So we're Insignum AgTech, plant intelligence.
Thanks very much, Kyle. We have time for a couple questions. Does anybody have a question? Otherwise, I have a question.
Hi, everyone. Howard.
Kyle. Oh,
Wayne.
Excellent.
Hi, Kyle. Quick question. I'm just curious, how do you protect the intellectual property here? Is this a traditional gene patenting approach or in a licensing model, those patents are going to be pretty important. How is this
Yes.
patented?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we're making a unique gene combination there. And so that's what our IP is on the plants themselves, right? So it's this unique combination that we're creating that is patentable. But at the same time, we patented the ability to detect this from an electronic platform. So when the besides just the farmers that are gaining from this, it's also the disease scouting people who are benefiting, because they're getting a tool that's a lot simpler and easier, faster, more reliable than an army of interns, right, to go out and physically walk the field. And so since we've captured that IP around any electronic detection of our plants as well, we'll charge them a little bit to do the automatic detection of these purple plants. So we're not going to monetize this completely on the backs of farmers, but for other people in the ecosystem that are also benefiting from the technology.
You've applied for a method patent, or?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Kyle, my name is Carson Britz. I'm the
Hi.
Western Sustainability Lead for Nutrient Ag Solutions, and I wanted to know a little bit more. Well, a comment. We're actually using NDVI with drones to detect disease at early stages, and having really great success with that in terms of rate reductions, just kind of overall. So just some food for thought there.
Good.
But I can understand how in a broadacre scenario this might be more attractive, and that type of application is less scalable at this point. So I think your technology can play into an interesting role. But my question is, what crops are you targeting, and what diseases in particular are you breeding for? Because as climate change is accelerating, it can vary from season to season, just exactly what it is that you're combating on an annual basis. So I'm just kind of curious on those fronts.
Yes, that's right. And I appreciate your comment about the NDVI as well. The hard thing is that as a scientist myself, I look at the NDVI data and I trust it. And I know that it's true, and I know that it's effective. But it's still from what I'm hearing from growers and people in the ecosystem. There are a lot of row crop farmers that don't have that same trust and belief in the system. And so it's, I'm in a hard place. I know it's true, but if it's not connecting, then it's not the right kind of solution that a lot of them are asking for. And so we're trying to design the technology to be broad enough to cover any fungal disease, right? There's some common reactions from the plant that are kind of category wide, right? So any fungal pathogen, a plant will respond in these particular ways. And so we're trying to make the technology activate against any kind of fungal disease, but only fungal pathogens, right? It's not just a general health metric, or it's not a general stress response. When you see purple, it's disease. And for a lot of the row crops anyway, the fungicides or other crop protection solutions that are out there have broad enough specificity that they cover a number of different issues. So it's not necessarily which disease do you have and try and match that up with the right chemistry or the right biological solution. It's if you have disease, then you need to treat, right? It's a yes or no decision. So that's what we're trying to build. And that's what we're seeing so far. Of course, we need to do a lot more testing in order to pick up on all the different diseases that are out there. But based on what we've seen so far, it is doing exactly that. It's responding to any of the fungal diseases.